All right, just want to make sure everything's up and going here. So, the other day, I posted a TikTok video and I got a comment on there that said, just to give you a little bit of background, the video was about enabling and how families can help addicted loved ones. And I got a comment from a gentleman, and he said, "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." And I looked at it and I agreed with him. I thought to myself, he's exactly right. I mean, I personally couldn't lead a horse anywhere. I'm terrified of horses. Thanks to a childhood friend when I was younger that put me on the back of a horse and then smacked it on the butt and it took off running. I never quite got over that. So thanks, Jake. You're still with me, buddy. Anyway, as I got thinking about that statement, I'm like, the dude, he's exactly right. You could lead a horse to water, assuming the horse will let you lead it, and you can't necessarily make it drink. If the horse isn't thirsty or if the horse doesn't want to drink, then they're a big animal. So to start, I have to say I agreed with the guy, but I wanted to put it in context a little bit because a horse isn't a child. A horse isn't one of our sons or daughters or spouses. A horse is an animal. But if we just stay with the analogy of us for a second with the animal, let's put it into context. To me, it depends what the purpose of the horse drinking is. Is this horse ride just a gingerly stroll through the community, and then you're going to go home and put it in the stable and call it a night? Or is this a life or death situation? Is this a journey across the desert where this horse is dependent upon to complete this journey? Because those are two very different scenarios, are they not? So let's focus on the latter for a little bit. If it were me, and if I, for whatever reason, overcame my phobias of riding a horse, which I probably would in this situation, right? Necessity often helps people overcome a lot of things. But if I were riding this horse somewhere, and if I needed this horse, let's say I needed to go hundreds of miles and my family depended on it or my life depended on it, and I came to a water source and this horse wouldn't drink, I would take a good hard look at the situation. I would evaluate, is there something that's possibly causing the horse to be hesitant? Maybe there's rocks at the approach where the horse, it's uncomfortable on its feet. Maybe there's some noise in the area. Maybe there's some whitewater upstream that's causing the horse to be spooked. It's a little bit noisy and the horse is just uncomfortable letting down its guard in that area to take a drink. Maybe there's something wrong with the horse that can be tended to or given some time. Maybe it's got a sore foot or an abscess in its mouth. Who knows what could be specifically going on in this hypothetical situation? But the point is that nobody in their right mind, if their life depended on this horse, would just say, well, it didn't work. The horse is thirsty. I need it. I've got 100 miles to go before sundown, and the horse didn't drink. So I'm just going to get off the horse and I'm going to shoot it in the head and just let it rot here next to the river because clearly it's pointless to try to get this horse to drink water. No, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't abandon the horse, would we? Most likely, if the horse is willing, we would try a different water source, or we would continue to ride that horse towards our destination, hoping that when we get to where we're going, there's a prayer and a hope that maybe the horse will drink water at the next water source. So the point is that when it comes to the analogy that you can lead a horse to water but you can't make it drink, first of all, we have to separate the animal from the human, because although the source of the statement comes back to everybody has choice and you can't override individual choice. I agree with that. But aren't there things that we could potentially do over time to purify the water source, to make it more approachable, to throw that horse in a herd of other horses and let it see those other horses drinking, or perhaps go to another source and see if that is more appealing to that horse for whatever reason? You see, the context of leading a horse to water but can't make it drink when it comes to people is completely different, because we have to keep in mind, what is the long-term goal? Sometimes it's not just about the horse. Sometimes it's about the rider or the family having peace of mind and having the support that they need to be involved, engaged, and continue on their journey even while the horse isn't drinking. There's actually some evidence out there to suggest, when done the right way, as many of you know, I'm certified and trained as an Arise interventionist, and they've done some peer review, evidence-based studies that they've taken family members who are resistant to change. So let's say there's a 25-year-old heroin addict that's living in the basement of a family home, and that person was unwilling to change or unwilling to accept treatment. Whatever that treatment looked like, for whatever reason, the individuals who approached them and said, hey, we think you need some help, they were unwilling to accept it. But when approached in a different way, for example, instead of sabotaging them or lying to them and doing what's called the Johnson model and putting them in a room and saying, hey, you have to get treatment, you have to go to rehab, you have to get help in this way right now, or else we're gonna pull back. We've got letters prepared, we're gonna draw hard boundaries. And when they did this in that way, people were still resistant, even though sometimes they still went to get help. In the long term, it wasn't always beneficial for the family. So when they shifted it to an invitational process, when they invited the son to come and meet, and then they just expressed their concerns as a group, as a family, saying, look, it's not just about this one horse. It's not just about this one person or this one rider who's trying to lead it. This is a team effort. It takes a team of different personalities and different resources and levels of support, with a commitment, with a long-term commitment that we're going to meet as a group, invitationally. You're invited, you don't have to come if you don't want to, but we're going to meet as a group and we're going to talk about the entire property. We're not just going to talk about one horse with one watering source, we're going to talk about the whole ranch. What kind of shape are the fences in? What about the trees on the west side of the lower 40? Who else is involved in this ranch and the operations, and even going back to generations past? When families got together and met consistently, openly, and patiently, and discussed the health of the family, and at times specifically the health of this in the specific individual, it's proven that 83% of the time, without fail, 83% of the time, the individual accepted treatment within the first 3 weeks. And that works because the individual is already part of the family, or part of the herd, you might say. And they may not even come to the first few meetings, but after a while they started to come to the meetings because they were curious. One, they wanted to defend themselves, they wanted to know what people were talking about. And then there's just the sense of family, right? They had a sense of family that we all have, that they're part of the system, they're part of the organization. It's all they know, especially somebody who is potentially living in the home with them. So I wanted to just provide some context there, that although Yes, we can't override someone's choices, and we certainly can't get a large animal to drink water if it doesn't want to. We should be careful, however, to just draw conclusions and make assumptions and uh, go to extremes on things. It's not black and white. It's not a situation where we offered someone help 3 months ago and they rejected it, so therefore they're going to reject it now. We don't know. There's options, there's different forms of help, there's different ways to approach them. Just like with horses, there's different sources of water, there's different approaches that we can take to get them to drink. And at the end of the day, if that horse chooses not to drink, if the family is meeting, if those that are there supporting that individual and loving them and rooting for them, and they're doing their own work, and they are part of a network, that then they become their support network for each other. And if that horse continues not to drink, there isn't one specific person that carries that burden. So nothing is really lost by intervening when it's done in the right way. So I hope this sheds some light on the subject. I hope in the future, if you hear that term, it causes you to pause and think a little bit about how things might be different. Thank you for engaging and watching this video, and stay tuned for more videos. And I look forward to seeing you more in the future. Thank you.